appreciate the folks who've replied yes.
I like it.
All right, we'll get started here in just a minute. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started at this point in time. Let me hit the record button and we'll be on our way. Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Nick Petro at the National Weather Service in Raleigh. It's 11:30 on Thursday, the 11th of October, and here's the latest tropical storm Michael update on central North Carolina, for central North Carolina. And what has changed since our last slide set? Well, we're concerned about a pretty potent squall line expected to move across the area later this afternoon and evening. And then, of course, with a slight adjustment of where the heaviest rain is falling, we've been able to make some adjustments to river flooding forecasts. So we'll get to that here shortly. But before I go ahead and move on to the rest of the briefing, let me just show the current radar as a good place to start. Bear with me for just a second while I put that on the screen. And there we go. You should be able to see the radar now. And let me go ahead and loop that, and you can see. Let me pause it in the latest frame. All these green boxes are flash flood warnings. But I want to basically point out to you that this band that we see here, this solid band right here that extends from Lumberton to Southern Pines, Carthage, Asheboro, up toward just west of Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Thomasville. This band right here is the one band that we've been showing for the last 2 days that we think will be capable of producing some pretty heavy downpours, some gusty winds, and potentially even some flooding. And just as I mouse over here, I can see a report right here of some river and creek overflowing there looks like on the border of Montgomery and Moore counties. In terms of the winds, we're seeing winds of there in Fayetteville gusting to 30, 29 miles an hour. There's another gust to 29 miles per hour. Southern Pines is gusting to 33 miles per hour. We have a gust there of 35 miles per hour. Camp McCall at Rockingham, there's a gust of 35 miles per hour. So you can see, again, and as we go further north, a gust of 21 there in Asheboro. So as you go further away from this band, notice how the winds are a little bit less, gust of 26 at RDU. And you can see behind the band, as you get away from that band, well, there's a variable at 6 miles per hour at Monroe. So you see the point that we've been trying to convey the last couple of days is that the winds are expected to be the strongest in this band. So if you have a radar loop running wherever you're located, or perhaps on your phone, this is a good thing to follow. Follow that band, and that's where we expect the biggest problems to be, is underneath this band. So we're concerned that heavy downpours, rainfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour could result in some localized flash flooding. Think of this as a slow-moving thunderstorm. You know, think of all the places that normally would flood when you have a slow-moving, heavy downpour thunderstorm moving across, and that's probably what you're going to experience when this thick yellow band of moderate rain, sometimes heavy rain, moves over you. And you can see we're already seeing wind gusts 35 miles per hour. While 35 miles per hour on a sunny day may not cause any problems, 35 mile per hour wind gusts on a wet surface could result in some downed trees. There's a gust even higher, 43 at Whiteville. So clearly there's some wind associated with this band. There's some heavy rain, and I wouldn't be surprised to see some power outages as well. That is what's happening right now. So there's another report of flooding occurring right now near Statesville. So this is the situation we're dealing with here, evolving as expected. And this band will continue. Let me put this into motion here. This band will continue to lift north across central North Carolina through the afternoon. So we're also keeping a watch on these embedded cells. Some of them may have some rotation in them. I would not be surprised if there's a couple of tornado warnings that have to be issued during the course of the day today. All right. So let me go ahead and I think that's all I wanted to show with this radar loop. Let me go ahead and close this out. I wanted to share this screen because this is rainfall amounts that have been observed in the last 12 hours. And you can see your eyes probably get drawn to these higher amounts here down by in upstate South Carolina, as well as in the Columbia area. These are areas of 2 to 4, maybe 5 inches of rain. You can see the general overall character of this rainfall swap has been somewhere in the 2 to 4 inch rainfall, maybe a few embedded higher amounts of 5 inches or so. That was in the last 12 hours. Well, keep in mind, I'd have to extend this back a little bit further in time if I wanted to capture the storm total rainfall amounts, which I'm sure there's probably some 5+ inch amounts. So again, our forecast that we've been conveying for the last few days of 3 to 6 inches of rain in the heaviest band, indeed looks like that's coming to pass. And again, so that obviously increases our confidence that we're going to be dealing with some flooding issues here. The one good news is, look at the lack of rain so far across the areas that have been particularly hard hit, say, Wayne County, south towards Sampson County. That's good news because as you go further east, obviously, the good news is with the heaviest rain now expected to occur west of those areas, generally in this general west of that line, that will mean less direct inflow into some of those river systems that flooded during Florence. So that's good news as well. All right, so let's head back to the slides. And there's a couple things I think you'll find interesting if my computer will cooperate with me. Bear with me here for just a second. Hang on just a second. Okay, there we go. That's what I was trying to get to. All right, so I want to also point out that there is a tornado watch in effect for a good chunk of central and eastern, all of eastern North Carolina, and a good chunk of central North Carolina. That's in effect until 9 p.m. I mentioned in that band, some of those cells are showing some signs of rotation. If it gets bad enough, obviously the rotation, then we tend to issue tornado warnings for those strongest rotational signatures. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. We do have the tropical storm warnings in effect for the counties you see highlighted in red. That's pretty much all of central North Carolina, almost just about all of North Carolina, except the far west and the far north and northeast. Flood watches and warnings in effect is indicated in the bottom graphic. All right. So yeah, I mean, Michael's now a tropical storm, and it's moving to the northeast, and no real significant changes in our concern for the greatest impacts. Not very little change with this as well. Wind 20 to 30 mile per hour, gusts 30 to 40. That's already occurring that's already occurring, and as I pointed out on the radar image with the observations just a few moments ago, so that's verifying. We're expecting later today there could be a pretty potent band that moves through, sort of like a squall line situation that could result in some 55 or greater mile per hour wind gusts. I'll show you that. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that in just a minute. I've already alluded to the flash flooding potential, and then river flooding we'll touch here in a minute, and tornado and power outages. Those two are concerns. All right. So this map just sort of conveys the areas we think will have the best chance to see potential for flooding. And what we mean by flooding here is flash flooding. Okay, not necessarily river flooding, but more in the way of flash flooding. That's what this map addresses. The areas in red have a better chance of seeing flash flooding than the areas in yellow. That doesn't mean areas in yellows won't see flash flooding. It just means the likelihood of flash flooding is greater the further you go to the north and west of central North Carolina. All right, so So anyway, the wind threat is pretty much for all of central North Carolina as well as the tornado threat. All right. This is another way to convey additional rainfall. Okay, so the image on the left is a rainfall forecast. And you can see the good news is along the coast and in the lower basins that got hit hard with Florence, very little rain is expected, up to an inch. But as you go towards central North Carolina, that's where we expect the sort of this whole green area is that 2 to 4 inch rainfall amount, and this yellow area is the 4 to 6 inch rainfall amount. So, so essentially, as we pointed out, this is in sync with you know, the observations that we've seen in upstate and central South Carolina, and these additional rainfall amounts we're feeling pretty good about. All that added up means that the greatest flooding potential will be, again, mainly across the western Piedmont, the foothills, and maybe the northern mountain sections up near the escarpment area and up near the Virginia border. All right, and the not to rule out that there can't be flash flooding further east, but this just simply conveys where the greatest risk is for flash flooding. All right, so all right, bear with me here for just a second. All right, so let me just switch to the next screen here, and we sent this slide, this set of slides out a few hours ago, and we're still feeling pretty confident about this. By the way, I've already emailed all these slides to everybody, so you should already have all these slides in your inbox. But the key thing here is we are expecting, as the event evolves, a squall line-like feature, if you will, or a period of rain that will sweep across the area this afternoon. And as the slides permit here, or as the slides indicate, you can see that this is expected to develop around 2 p.m. this afternoon. And in that band that I have highlighted on the screen, we're expecting wind gusts 30 to 40 miles per hour, with gusts in excess of 55 miles per hour. And of course, that can result in numerous down trees and power lines. Okay, and then that whole squall line feature will just gradually shift east towards the Triangle region, towards the Sand Hills by around late afternoon, and then during the evening hours shifting across the coastal plain. Essentially, that will be the back edge of the storm, if you will. So in addition to the wind, obviously there could be some rain with that, and there could be some localized additional flash flooding with that band as well. So let me back up again, just to take you through this again. This is roughly early afternoon, that area of enhanced wind, kind of like a thunderstorm squall line, developing basically along the I-77 corridor, shifting towards the Triad. By late afternoon, shifting towards the, moving east towards the Triangle region, down towards the Sand Hills, and then sweeping across the coastal plain and I-95 corridor during the early evening hours. It may in fact be this band of wind that moves through may be the strongest wind of the day. Okay, and there are some models. There are some models out there that show much more wind than 30 to 40 with gusts of 55. This is sort of a worst case scenario. Here's another way to convey it. And this is sort of a worst case scenario, if you will. And let me back up and show you how this particular model shows this evolving. And the image on the left is a reflectivity simulation, and the image on the right is a wind gust forecast. And as we take this through, this would be the present time. Now, clearly, this is overdone. So I want to first get out there and convey that certainly, what I show in the future time steps will likely be overdone as well. But as we move this through early afternoon, you can see just out of nowhere, look how this model shows. Look in this general area right here, and you can see how somewhere between 12 and 1 o'clock, there's this enhancement of wind that develops just basically along the I-77 corridor. And there is some scientific reasoning for that. That is dry air getting mixed into the system linking up with a cold front, and as the winds change from southerly and easterly to northerly, that will help develop this squall line-like feature. So here's 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., and notice the nature of this band. With this band of rain and this wind incorporated within it, that could produce, if that indeed comes to pass, that's moving across the Wake County Triangle region 6 p.m. and then across the coastal plains 7 and 8 p.m. If that indeed develops, now clearly don't pay attention so much to the numbers, because that looks, again, we feel that is way overdone. But the bottom line is we do expect that the storm will end with a pretty strong gust of wind that may last anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes in any one location, and it's not going to last very long. But again, let me take you through this again and show you how this is expected, at least according to this particular model, is expected to develop. So if you're looking at the observations and wondering why you're not seeing this right now, that's because it's expected to develop right here between 12 and 1 p.m. and then gradually just shift east across central North Carolina as the day progresses. All right. So there is a concern for that. We don't have our official forecasts. Don't take it up to these excessive numbers that this particular model is showing. But we do expect, we would expect, at least 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts, with some wind gusts exceeding 55 miles per hour. And 55 miles per hour will clearly result in numerous downed trees and power lines. All right. So that's our main concern for later today. All right. Let's shift real quick to the river situation, because there's some good news to share there. And the good news is that the Neuse River system, the Cape Fear River system, and even the eastern sections of the Tar River system have the forecast flood levels have actually been reduced from what we showed yesterday. And just taking you river by river.